I want to say on the record that we love PushStart because one of the common goals you have and we have is creating a community, right? So to talk about 91 Springboard, basically we are a community-led co-working space. A lot of our focus is on getting a variety of people together and let them help each other, right? We are creating communities that help you in growing your businesses.
How did you guys come up with this idea and how did you actually validate?
We didn't start with thinking we are going to be in the co-working business. We started with thinking that we'll set up a fund. And as part of this fund, we'll also have a space where all our portfolio companies will be sitting there. Meanwhile, we were doing fundraising from investors so that we could invest in these startups that we were identifying. And the startups started sitting out of the space, we were helping them actively. The fundraising never happened. And we were in this spot where we were like, dude, fund to nahi aa raha hai. Aayega bhi, it will take enough time. And meanwhile, we need to worry about survival.
Okay. Yeah.
And we hold ourselves in the room and we're like, there are these companies lining up, they want to come into a space, they're finding it valuable, they're willing to pay for it.
And they were already engaged with you guys.
They're engaging, they're really appreciating what we are doing. And here we are focusing on fundraising from investors on this, whereas here's an awesome product we have, right? And that's when we started focusing on that. We evolved into a co-working.
Okay.
And honestly, post that is when we started Googling out saying, Acha, aisa kuch duniya mein hota bhi hai, right? So we sort of discovered it and then figured that, oh, it's a partly an existing thing too.
And how did you validate it?
So it was a pivot, and validation was the fact that in our space, customers were willing to come, they were willing to pay.
Okay.
And there was a line, right? And here we were getting very selective, saying, nahi, just go invest karenge, usi ko aan denge.
Okay.
Or investment to ho nahi raha. So it did work, right? Customers effectively came to us and said, this is awesome product. Please do this. We want to pay for it. So we said, great.
How did you go from 0 to first 50 customers of yours?
Was a large part of our focus was on ensuring that we are adding value to these customers, right? So all of us, our existing team also, we were sort of very, very focused on people coming into our hubs. They're becoming a part of community, they're engaging with each other. And are we connecting them to people who can be helpful for them? Are we helping them grow their business in some way or the other, right? And that naturally, honestly, became the marketing in itself.
Okay.
Right. So when our customers were finding value, they themselves were recommending us to other customers. We were organizing a lot of very good workshops, seminars, sessions. People were coming for that. They were experiencing the space and they were then saying, we want to stay. Mission of let's help the companies here was something which was core to it.
Like while scaling from one center to another, how did you make sure that the experience was standardized across the two centers?
Biggest part of it is vision alignment, culture, and then of course the processes and systems.
Like in general, what are the things that you guys look at in a city before starting a co-working space in that? Like what kind of analysis or what are the major parameters that you guys look at?
Sure. Like we were bootstrapped, like for sufficient amount of time. And our first few spaces were a combination of looking at which are the markets where this would work, and on the other side, where are spaces that we are getting that we can set up in low capital manner. So Gurgaon and Hyderabad both became the next steps for us because we were able to identify buildings which were set up in the manner that we wanted. The building owners were willing to do it in a revenue share manner, and hence the cost for starting up there was much cheaper for us. And these were very helpful people who were willing to support. So that's how the initial spaces happened. Honestly, now when we look at locations and cities we want to grow to, large part of it is where is the right demand and customers' willingness to pay, where the economics would work to. Right, so a combination of that allows us to do the right market
Will the 91 members shift if a new co-working space is providing similar facilities at a lower rate than you guys? Like, do you consider your community to be that strong that the community members will stay with you, or they would switch? Like, what is your view on this?
So again, very honestly, we've not seen much of that.
What is that loyalty question that member?
Right. So honestly, there's no single answer to this, right? What we've seen is people are sticking to us, right? Our centers are, so it's not like there aren't spaces which are
Obviously
cheaper than us. There are spaces which are cheaper than us, and there are spaces which are much costlier than us too, right? I do think it's an industry where there is a market for multiple players at multiple price points, right? So like there's a scope for Mercedes, there's a scope for Nano, there's a scope for Toyota. We believe we are the Toyota of the industry, where we are appropriately priced. We are a premium space, but yet the customer doesn't feel like they are unnecessarily spending on luxury, right? We think we are in that segment.
How do you communicate and penetrate your culture within your organization, like employees as well as the community?
And one thing that our advisors, Deepak, etc., also impress upon us is, unless you're managing culture and this vision alignment properly, like over time as you scale, things do become very hard to manage. So from early on, a lot of things like defining the vision, ensuring that there's a good induction happening. Raghu, the founder of Taxi, for sure, he's a friend, and one advice that he gave me, which I sort of implemented immediately after that, is ensure you do regular town halls, right, where team alignment happens. So a lot of that, ensuring that the things that we really believe in, we pass it to our team, and they are able to live on those principles is something which is very important for us. So that's what we do. Similarly, so and after that it becomes infectious, like members also carry it on, etc. And we do filter for culture too. So when members, if we feel like there are companies which may not be cultural fit in our spaces, we are comfortable not selling to them, right? So I think maintaining that culture is important, and we do focus on that.
With like more than 300 co-working operators in India, right, and many more to come in the next 5 years, and you can see like every day one or the other co-working spaces coming up, right? Like, what do you think can be the USP of new co-working spaces which are coming into the market? Any particular thing that can differentiate, and we are doing this and that, right? So what can be that one differentiating factor according to you for a new co-working space which is coming up?
Co-working is a huge opportunity, right? I think where we combine all the competitors, etc. in India, I think we're just scratching the market. We are nowhere close to where the market should be very quickly. So one is that, right? The second is, I think it's a diverse opportunity. We are doing our style of sort of co-working, which is a very community focused, bigger spaces kind of an opportunity. I do think there'll be different, so just shared office. A lot of shared office companies are calling themselves co-working, and it's hard for customer to differentiate, and that's okay. I mean, I let them call themselves co-working. What I'm saying is that is a good opportunity also. While we are not doing that, I do think there's an opportunity in shared office. Similarly, aggregating offices, right? So there are a bunch of these. I mean, it's a different challenge. It needs you to run it in a very different way. But this part of, there's so many people who have empty offices. These are small offices. You might have an office which has like 20 seats free. Mm-hmm. There could be an opportunity for someone to aggregate it and give it to people, right? I mean, you could call it Airbnb. I do think it will require some amount of management of this also. I love social, right? They've converted a co-working out of a restaurant and a bar business, and that's got its own kind of customers. So I do think a lot of times we think of co-working as a single lens, and we think of comparing all of these. I think a lot of these are different businesses, and all of these are good opportunities. and all the market is so much in its infancy that I think within these also a lot of opportunities lie.
What do you see, like how the ecosystem will look like? I think 5 to 10 years from now, even in the e-commerce segment, many companies started up, and now there are only one or two major players in the market, which are dominating the industry. What do you see in this like co-working industry? What are your views? 5 to 10 years, 10 years from now, do you think 91 or any other one player dominating the whole of ecosystem, or it will be always a multiple company thing? Like, what do you?
My current belief is so co-working itself will have various segments, and in each segment there will be 2 to 3 massive companies.
Okay.
Right? It's not a single person winning it all
True.
across all the segments kind
That's
of a
a great
market.
point. Yeah.
That's my opinion. We'll see how future goes.
How you hire the candidate for your company? Any specific protocol you follow to hire the manpower, or you hire any recruitment agency for manpower?
So a lot of hiring now for us is where our internal team manages it. We get in applications, we have filtration process around that, and we conduct interviews. I think if I were to talk of a few learnings we've had there and like a few systems we've been following, is one, we want to ensure uh, there are multiple people from the team interacting with the person versus just your manager sort of interviewing and hiring you. And for us, that's also important because we want the person to be able to get to know the organization well and take a call for themselves, right? So we want them to choose us as much as we choosing them. That's one. The second is we do try to ensure that almost every role there's one of the founders still interviewing the person, right? So while we've grown to a level where it's getting harder with time, we've still stuck to that.
Okay.
But we want one of us to be involved enough because we do think we want to manage for culture
Yeah.
proactively.
Any particular advice that you would want to give entrepreneurs? Like, there are a lot of passionate entrepreneurs on PushStart. Like, they are following their passion. Any particular advice that you would want to give? Because like we face pressure from our families, from the society, right? So what would be your advice to people like us as well as other entrepreneurs?
Sure. I would say surround yourself with positive people, people who are constructive. So one, please do that. Second, please put your head down and focus on customers' problem and finding a economical solution for that. And if you can do that consistently for 4 years, I can almost guarantee to you that you will be successful, right? So that's the second one. And third is let this whole funding, valuation, etc. not distract you. Not to say funding is not important. If you're in a business where you need to raise money to scale up, it is important. But please, let's not make that goal. The goal is to create a great enterprise which is fundamentally very strong. And if you can create an enterprise on fundamentals, then there'll be no stopping for you, right? So just focus on those.